In 2007, the United Nations adopted a nifty policy called the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. It boils down to protecting them and their cultures across the world. You'd think in a country like the United States this would be a shoo-in. Well, you'd be wrong. It took the U.S. about 2.5 years to give it the thumbs up. Kenneth Deere, who represents the Mohawk Nation, joins us now. Mr. Deere, thank you so much for joining us. I guess the good news is that the United States did finally adopt this treatise, this pact. But I'm guessing, at some sense, that you're kind of wondering what took so long.
Well, first of all, they haven't accepted, they haven't endorsed the declaration yet. What they've said is that they're going to review their position, and that's going to take another year or two for the government to do that. So they haven't endorsed the declaration, and they haven't endorsed it because the United States has been resisting the rights of indigenous peoples, and I think there's a lot of perhaps guilt on the U.S. side, afraid of what it means to recognize that Native Americans have human rights.
Mr. Deere, thank you so much for that clarification. Then I think my question still stands, however. Why the delay? What is taking so long? What are the concerns?
Well, you have to look at the United States' history with the Native people in North America. They have, they dispossessed them, they've relocated them, they've broken every treaty that they've made with Native Americans, and this declaration puts pressure on governments to respect the rights of indigenous people, to respect their traditional territories, to live up to the treaties that they've made with indigenous peoples, and respect the right to self-determination, and to respect the right to free and prior and informed consent on anything that affects them. So the U.S. government is reluctant to treat indigenous peoples the same way they treat Americans. They're trying to live up to the same kind of agreements. If we were non-natives, the American government would live up to those agreements. But because we're natives, they've violated them. And now if they have to live up to those agreements, it puts a lot of pressure on the American government. So that would make them reluctant to approve this kind of declaration.
Mr. Deere, the United States is a country that really emphasizes and stresses the concepts of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that is a key central point in being an American. But if that's the case, I'm guessing that there are probably some really, whether you want to call it good or bad examples of other countries who may not stress life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as much as the United States, who are blowing the United States by when it comes to recognizing indigenous peoples. Do you have examples of that? Can you tell us about that a little more?
Certainly, there are other countries who are doing a much better job than the United States. You look at countries like Norway, Sweden, and Finland, who have the Sami people in their territories, and they're doing a much better job of recognizing their rights. The Sami people still have struggles with these states, but they're organized, and they're right now they're negotiating a convention on the rights of the Sami people. They have a Sami parliament. They have many things that Native Americans wish they had, and also there are other states who have you look at Denmark, who right now has relationships with the Inuit in Greenland. In Greenland, they have what they call home rule right now, and they had since the 70s, and now Greenland is actually talking about its own independence, and Denmark is being far more accommodating to the aspirations of the Inuit, and then the United States is to its own people. The United States does recognize the self-determination of the Native people inside, but that right of self-determination has been severely undermined by U.S. policy and by the Supreme Court. Of course, there are no Native people on the Supreme Court, so you can't look at the Supreme Court as being a neutral arbitrator of the rights of Native Americans.
Mr. Deere, thank you for joining us. I know we're just hitting the tip of the icebergs, but thank you so much for at least sharing with us the little that you did today.